match day -1 before Canada and Morocco in the round of 16. It's fitting that they call that Space City, because if Canada win tomorrow, they will certainly be launched into the outer space of the footballing universe because of what it would do for the sport in this country. Speaking of space, how about some stars? Gareth Wheeler, Amy Walsh joining the show today. We will also shortly join KJ from Houston. We will also discuss with Oliver Platt Toronto. Now that all of the World Cup matches that it will host are in the books, the scaffolding is already coming down on what we can once again call BMO Fields. But with that, today was match day -1, an opportunity for the Canadians to meet with the media. The media can ask some questions, try to get some sound bites out of Jesse Marsch and go into what could become something very, very special for this program. Question 1 was about Morocco, who Canada are going to face, and Jesse Marsch was very complimentary of the opposition for tomorrow's match.
We're excited. Like, we want to be here. This is where we expect it to be, and this is where we want to be. And we know that Morocco is going to challenge every single thing we do. And this is a team that has literally zero weaknesses. So even when I've sat in front of them and created a match plan, I've basically said to them, look, this team has zero weaknesses, but we have to try to be good at the things that we care about and that we are good at. And we have to see if that can hold up against an opponent like this.
Gareth Wheeler, zero weaknesses is how Jesse Marsch describes Morocco. We know he loves the podium. We know he loves the microphone. A little bit of gamesmanship, some honest compliments as well. But what did you make of the gaffer's assessment of the North African side?
Not quite as good of an attempt to pivot as your intro. Blast off into outer space. You should have just said it would be out of this world.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on, that was a layup. It was simple for you. Listen, I don't think any of us are buying it that Morocco has no weaknesses. I don't think there's a team on the planet that doesn't have the weakness. And over the course of the press conference, hearing the Moroccan media, not once, not twice, but 3 times challenge Jesse Marsch on that sentiment, saying that Marsch is simply using this as a tactic to downplay expectations. I'm kind of more on that side of the equation than anything else right now. Look, this Moroccan team is very good. You're not the 6th ranked team in the world for no reason at all. They can play, they're well-rounded, their style of play is very effective, it's very watchable, but this isn't a team full of Lionel Messis. They have 1 star player in Hakimi and a lot of really good players as well. They can sometimes be wasteful in their chances in attack, and they commit so many numbers forward, especially putting their fullback so high that it does leave them open to transition, which actually plays to Canada's strength. So I'm not buying the downplaying here. Like, there is no perfect team in this competition, although they are very good. I understand that sentiment here, but I'm not sure why Marsch is pushing that agenda so much at this point. Like, this isn't the Invincibles or anything like that. This is a team that has their strengths, which are clear, but has their flaws just like everyone else.
Well, whoever's playing on the flanks is going to have to be Elastic Girl, like the Invincibles, going up and down to chase Hakimi or Mezraoui, right? I don't know what we're doing here, Wheels, but I'm on board. So I agree with you. I think it's a little bit of a tactic by Jesse Marsch, but I don't have a problem with it. It's like the free hit. It's like the house money. He believes his team can fully win if they're committed, if they disrupt Morocco, who are the better team here. So you just double down on it and you say this is a team that has very little weaknesses, or they have no weaknesses, and it leaves tremendous upside for Canada. Effectively takes the pressure off. But they believe internally, you have to believe that internally, they believe they can win this match. And they have to go out there and do exactly as you said. If there are weaknesses or vulnerabilities in that back line and in this team, it's in the throwing the numbers forward. You remember the 1-0 over Scotland. You remember, being down to Haiti and like how chaotic that first half was. So they will be looking at those matches. They will looking at those moments and how they can exploit that. But they will have to be airtight defensively. They will have to be very disciplined in their shape and pick their spots. And if they do get moments, maybe 1 or 2 over the course of this match, they will have to be ruthless. And Canada's track record at this World Cup has not been impeccable in that regard.
Well, speaking of no weaknesses, let's bring in Christian Jack to join the conversation as well. KJ, There's a lot to like about Morocco. No one is downplaying for a moment that this is a very, very strong opponent. Is Jesse Marsch giving them a bit too much respect? What was your takeaway from the no weaknesses comment?
Well, I think it's exactly the same card he's been playing all week, and I didn't expect anything different to it. I don't expect him to say the same thing he's saying to us that he's saying to his players. It's his job to find weaknesses. It's his job to tell his players you can exploit this team in these areas. It's certainly not his job to tell us what those areas are. I can tell you that in the press conference there was almost an uncomfortability about the fact that some of the Moroccan journalists shifted in their seats a little bit. Unusual hearing a coach with such universal praise about their side. We can talk about their record and how brilliant they've been since the last World Cup. But this is a team in the last World Cup that weren't favored to get through the group, certainly weren't favored to play the teams that they did and go through, and then play Brazil in the World Cup here that everyone was talking about Brazil. And then the Dutch, well, a lot of people were talking about them. So I have no problem with the coach flipping it on his head and saying that this is the favorite team and they should definitely be winning this game to us. If I felt that his players were mentally weak enough to start to believe that and not be ready, then I would say that it may be a bit of a problem. But I think Canada overall going into this game know that if they play their best and Morocco play their best, they're going to lose. So, you know, ultimately that's the facts, but they don't want to be overawed by it. And if they give their best, maybe there's an opportunity for them to find that Morocco can't give theirs. And I think the key here is that Canada have played up to some of their opponents in the past and in many ways struggled when they played down. So by building up an opponent, I don't think with this current group being the way that they are and who they played over the last 2 years, it's mentally going to affect their preparation.
Christian Jack joining us live on location, powered by General Mills. Amy, KJ, and the other members of the media have been asking Jesse Marsch and the players a lot this week about tactics and perhaps needing to adjust the way Canada have been playing under Jesse Marsch to try to get a result here. As the former national team player amongst us, if you were in that changing room and the coach was saying to you at training afterwards when you're doing your videos and your big meetings, look, guys, our identity got us to this point, but now in the most important match we've ever played, we're going to change. We don't know for a fact that that's what's been said, but if that idea has been floated, how do you think the players would react to it?
I think the idea of pragmatism has probably entered the chat for the players as well, understanding where they are, where they've never before been to a round of 16 at a World Cup. You know, we know they did very well, and it was almost a cementing of the status of this team as competitors on the world stage with the top opponents, you know, in Copa America. So now can he do the same thing at a World Cup? So you have to understand kind of where you are in the pecking order of world football, but at the same time, as a player hearing that, I would bristle, because I think your identity here, and it goes with our theme today so far, Jenkins and Wheels, it's your superpower. It really is. It's served them well. It's provided belief. It's provided success to a certain degree, even though they still haven't gotten that trophy, you know, like the men's team won in 2000. So there's trust and there's comfort in that. And it's something that you can continually return to. So you have to understand, though, that you have to layer on some tweaks, a little bit of changes here and there. But I don't think you go into this contest and think that you can get any success if you just throw everything out the window that you've built over the course of the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think you're right, Amy. I think speaking to the players in what little evidence we've had and what we can witness, words like aggression, be the aggressor, be positive, be who we are, terms continue to come out. So in many ways, I think it might be a bit of a contradiction to what Jesse Marsch is saying, because if Jesse Marsch believes that Morocco are who he is telling us they are, I think they would require significant changes to the way that they play to get the best out of Canada. I believe, as a prediction, that I think Canada will go out there and play a similar system, because Jesse Marsch always plays a similar system, regardless of the opponent. I think he will think that I played front two against Argentina, I played a front two against Chile, I played a front two and won in the US, and I think that that is how he might go about this and approach this game, regardless of whether we think that's the right thing to do. And if he does that, then all the things that he's built up Morocco to be, there will be some chinks in the armor that he believes he can take advantage of by playing that front two. I think that's what's going to happen.
There's a theme in a lot of these games where Canada has had success against better nations. And many of these games that came away with a draw. We can include the Argentina, especially the second game at Copa America as well. The first game, they gave up a lot of shots, but they gave up a high percentage of possession in those games. The other team completes a lot of their passing, but shot totals are mitigated, like 6 against Colombia. If Wales, if you want to include that in the equation, playing away at Wales, there were 6. First time around against Argentina, there was 11. Same thing with France. These were games where their style of play did help them out, but none of the games have been at a magnitude of this and the desperation like this of a World Cup. And I think it's fine to keep your principles the same. And I think that these players are aware of the style of play that Jesse Marsch wants to see and how they can be affected. But if you don't help the team out by securing certain places across the park, across the field, just in terms of having numerical advantages or disadvantages, you're going to be leaving your players hanging out to dry. And I think these players are good enough to adapt. They're good enough to evolve. I think they're good enough to play in different ways. That's the one thing, like, I'm totally on board with Jesse Marsch, like, bigging up Morocco for a number of different reasons. But I think we as a public and we as the media should acknowledge that these Canadian players are really good and they're capable of rising to the challenge and being competitive in a game like this. And I just hate to see, based upon stubbornness, whether it's just keeping 2 players in the midfield and they're just completely overrun in that position, much like the Dutch were, that would bother me at the end of the day, because you need to make sure that the players have everything they need to go out into this battle and have the requisite ammunition to come away with the best fight possible. So I just would hate stubbornness to add to be part of the equation, although there is evidence to suggest that these players can play that way and still keep things tight.
There is as well here a layer of familiarity. Canada having just played Qatar at the last, in Qatar, they had just played Morocco at the last World Cup. Alistair Johnston was asked how the team has grown and evolved since their last meeting.
Look, this team, we're still a young team, but in terms of the experience that we have now of playing in big moments, you can see it. I mean, just for me personally, the calmness that I have going into this game is night and day compared to what it would have been in Qatar. And that's something that you can't trick yourself into doing. It's something that is only built by actually having true and honest, experiences in those moments. And that's something that I think that a lot of our core guys have.
So, KJ, when you think of some of the top opponents that Canada have played the past few years, the World Cup experience, Argentina, of course, Copa America, the Netherlands, France, etc. Have they learned lessons from those matches? Are they ready to once again test themselves against one of the best footballing nations in the world?
Well, most importantly, I think they believe they are. And I think belief is a strong word. I think they have self-belief because of the way that they've gone about those games. And it comes down to a lot of different mentality things, right? It comes down to a lot of self-belief, but of course, it comes down to self-discipline and game management and understanding when you're rocking that you don't break. You bend, but you don't break. And I think they've learned that. Like Alistair Johnston went on to say in that press conference about he's preparing some of the players who are not aware of it, just how loud and ferocious the fan base of the Moroccan fan base here in Houston are going to be. He said you're not going to hear anything like you've ever heard before. So there's those moments where some people can say, okay, well, they've done that. They had that with Argentina. They've had that with the crowd. I was in Orlando for the Chile game, for Peru, and obviously Mexico in Nations League. So they have faced that kind of issues in the past. And again, for me, the entire theme of this is if Morocco are not at their best, Canada can win. But Canada have to be at their best. And they can't be overawed by the emotion. And they can't be overawed by the occasion. And if they can keep that and they can keep level with that, they've got a shot. And it's a shot that they continue to talk about.
Yeah, they played some big teams collectively. I think the experience is pretty good in this team. And that's why the last World Cup was so important to literally half of this team who are in Qatar playing against 3 giant nations at that World Cup. But it goes beyond that just in terms of the national team reference points. You have players on this team that are playing in the biggest stadiums worldwide, in the Champions League and various other competitions. And I think their mentality is what makes them such a good unit together. Like, you hear a lot about brotherhood. I just like how they have a little bit of swagger for Canada and that they fight for one another. That's the one thing with this group of players. They will never, ever cheat you when it comes to effort. Like, And I think that will go a long way in this. It's also a benefit to this team that they're playing in a climate-controlled arena. I think that suits the way that they play as well. So there's a lot of things going their way. The missing link here, and KJ, you kind of alluded to it, they just don't have that signature win under their belts. Like, they have some very important moments and some very important wins, but a win against competition like this, it's something that hasn't happened over the last 2 years under Jesse Marsh. So they were waiting for that moment. I think collectively, I think the players are relishing the challenge to come away with that moment as well, but they've ticked all those other boxes. They just need to come away with a result. Then you kind of feel like that circle's complete for this group. They're not quite there yet, but they're knocking on the door, and really Saturday is the opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, and I don't think they're thinking we don't have a reference point versus a big team, because as a player, you look to past matches, whether it's club or country or your own individual performance, and that's what you're pulling from. So it's being in the big moments. It's about the composure and the understanding and the response required when you're in it, navigating them, meeting them, and elevating the play of everybody around you. And an important point, you guys, is that we have not seen this team put in a 90-minute comprehensive performance yet. So maybe this is the opponent, this is the occasion, this is the match that they've been waiting for to do that, and they will have to do that if they're going to get past Morocco.
So they're here, Canada, because they beat South Africa in the round of 32. They did that without Kyle Larin seeing the field. KJ asked Jesse Marsh about one of the players that has certainly owned a lot of the conversation throughout this World Cup. Should he start? Should he be on the bench? Should he be featured as a substitute? Here's what the gaffer had to say.
I mean, Kyle is a team guy, so I knew he wasn't happy, but he also was really happy for the team. We've had a couple of talks this week about how to now prepare himself in all ways to be ready to go for this match. I know that Kyle's all in it for the team. He'll do anything for the guys, and he'll be ready to go. And I expect that when we do call him on this match, however we use him, that he'll be ready to deliver a great performance.
Christian, what sort of involvement, if any, are you expecting Kyle Larin to have tomorrow?
Well, Jesse played his hand a little bit there when he said, when we do, go to whatever we use him. And I thought that was a little bit of something that he stopped himself afterwards by saying it. I don't expect Kyle Larin to start the game. And I think he's been mistreated at this World Cup. This is a player that scored 2 World Cup goals for Canada in crucial times. And I understand maybe why they decided to go a little bit towards Tani Oluwaseyi in the last game. And he worked really hard, as Tani always does, and pressed well. But there's a couple of things with Tani. He doesn't score goals, and he doesn't get the best out of Jonathan David. And in a game where you need a goal and you need the best out of Jonathan David, I would go with Kyle Larin if you're going to play with 2 strikers. As Jesse alluded to, it doesn't look like that is the case. So, there's been some discussion about maybe Larin didn't run and press hard enough against Switzerland, and that is clearly what Jesse Marsh wants out of his strikers. But in a game like this, where you're going to go even deeper and have a little bit more of a mid-block, and you're certainly not going to go guns a-blazing, pressing high against the Morocco team that will play right through you, I think Kyle Larin is very important, and that's why I asked Jesse about the mental aspects of Kyle Larin going into this game after he's been dropped not once but twice during a World Cup, and he scored 2 brilliant goals for the team. So, as I said earlier, I don't think he's been treated that well, but I don't expect him to start.
Yeah, I would agree with you based on what Jesse said on the dais there. It sounds like he's being saved as an impactful sub, and we've seen him utilized to that effect, right? Where it was, masterful by Jesse Marsh, the way that he maybe pulled the strings or sort of manufactured that response from Kyle Larin with the fingers in his ears for that equalizer versus Bosnia. So maybe he's talking to him and saying, this is the role that we need you to play for us. I don't think he's been mistreated. I think you look at the way that he moved versus Switzerland. Yes, there was not quite the high tempo and the aggression, the running, the hard running that you need from somebody leading the line. He looked like he was carrying a knock, quite frankly, and I think he wasn't utilized versus South Africa because he was maybe tabbed as a substitute for Jonathan David if that match was to go to extra time. And we know that Stefan Eustáquio stepped up and saved the day. We didn't need to go to that, but I think there's a plan for a coach who's much maligned for not having a plan beyond plan A. I think that he's speaking to all of his players. He's backed by them. The respect is there, and Kyle Larin will come off the bench tomorrow, hopefully to great effect for this Canadian team.
It's an odd one. I found it odd that Tanny started over Kyle against South Africa as well. I'm not sure how effective it actually was. And then the problem for Kyle is that it doesn't seem like he's the first choice off the bench either. And because that belongs to Promise David and how effective he's been bringing something else into the game. So look, chances and opportunities to get in front of goal and get inside the area, they're precious in games like this, and you need players on the field that show that they can provide a little bit of finish. So if, and that's a big if, Jesse Marsch ends up playing 2 up top, which, I mean, we don't have any evidence that he won't play 2 up top because he hasn't. He's refused to show us what that look would actually what that would actually look like over the course of his tenure. I think Kyle Larin has to be the player that starts the game. Like I would be really, really surprised if Taniolo O'Shea starts this game. And that's where Marsch, I think himself, leaves himself open to a little bit of criticism. He has to get these decisions right for these games. That's why Marsch downplay. Like he was even asked the question, I believe it was by you, KJ, was the last question about whether this is the biggest game he's ever managed. Well, he didn't definitively say yes. Round of 16 game at a World Cup, and he's like boasted and bragged about everything that Canada means to him and what the World Cup means. I was shocked he didn't say no, or he didn't say yes. And that tells me that he's playing his cards very tightly, because I don't think that he knows what to expect tomorrow as well. And he's trying to avoid any potential criticism coming his way. This is what happens in international football. It's no offense to Jesse Marsch. Managers are on the hot seat. How many managers have we seen lose their jobs coming out of this World Cup because they were unable to deliver in the moments that mattered the most? So I don't think that's a bad thing, Jesse Marsch, having a little bit of pressure on him, but he's doing a great job. He's like Neo in the Matrix, kind of avoiding those kinds of bullets coming his way.
That's why I asked him the question, and I think it was an opportunity for him to say right there the size and the magnitude of the game and the occasion and the time for his career, and he downplayed it. And it's obviously what they're trying to do is downplay it for his own players in that moment. But I'm with you. If we come off tomorrow and Kyle Larin's not started that game, and no one on this team has scored more goals in 2026, it's not even close, than Kyle Larin. And if we come off the game and they don't win, and he only starts 2 of the 5 World Cup games, I think we have every right to question why.
One Soccer's Christian Jack joining us live from Houston, Texas tonight, powered by General Mills. KJ, go find a TV for the end of this Argentina-Cabo Verde thriller we've got going on right now on the opposite side of Canada in the bracket. But there's a very big chance that the holders are going out. Pretty remarkable to think. France and Paraguay, the winner of that match will see Canada in the quarterfinals should they get through Morocco. All Iberia clash with Portugal and Spain, the US and Belgium in the bottom corner of the bracket. This is Our House, presented by Samsung, is next on Bet365 for the win. Gareth, we just got into pieces of what I'm sure you're about to go through for us now. Your, not projected, your preferred starting 11 for tomorrow against Morocco.
I can't wait to hear what Amy has to say about Wheeler's projected 11. Not what Jesse Marsch will do. This is what me, if I was head coach, if I was the gaffer, I would do tomorrow. 3 changes to the starting 11 last time out. Luke DeFugeral comes back in for Moise Bombito. There wasn't much to do for Bombito in 58 minutes, and I prefer, if the game is close, for Bombito to come on and finish a game. I also know that if called upon, Moise Bombito could take a penalty. I don't want to see Luke DeFugeral anywhere near a penalty kick again in my lifetime, please. And thank you. I'm going with 3 in the midfield, 3 in the middle. You could switch Eustachio. He's going to play on the inside. Ali Ahmed's going to go and play wide left. But Mathieu Chouanier is going to come in and replace an out-and-out striker up top. I debated between Chouanier and Sigor. I just think Sigor's versatility and what he can bring and potentially providing you another option off the bench might be better to use him later on in the game. Chouanier, you can always count on him to provide an honest effort. He's superior at free kicks, probably Canada's best free kick taker as well. I think that will be useful. And Ali Malbed playing down that left-hand side. Hakimi bombs forward. Richie Larea is going to need help. Ahmed is a pain in the you-know-what to get past because he's physical. He's awkward. He's combative. I think that he can keep Hakimi on his toes a little bit, to be honest with you. And they start Jonathan David up top alone, because that's where I think he should be playing. I've been screaming it from the hills for months now. Let's not be too dramatic here. And I think in a game like this, I don't want to see Jonathan David defending inside his own 18. I just don't. I want to see him leading the line, try to pick apart spaces in behind the back line to take advantage of any opportunity that comes Canada's way. So the 3 changes from the South Africa game, and I think these changes would give Canada a better chance to go out and come away with the result.
Very interesting, Wheels. It's like playing fantasy football with Wheeler, because this is never going to happen, right? Jesse Marsh will never do this, but I do love it. You're not the only one who's been shaking your fist at the cloud to say, Jonathan David needs to lead the line. I would love to see him further up the pitch as well. I don't see it happening. I want to pick apart your 11 a little bit more and your back line. I think Luc de Fougerolles starts, and I know you've got the left-footed center back and Derek Cornelius there next to him, and I understand the dynamic there with that tandem, but I would go Bombito and de Fougerolles. I have been so impressed with the 20-year-old youngster this World Cup. Just his experience, the way that he plays, his composure just belies his years. And there's no Nico Segur. I know you told me that it gave you a bit of a headache between Segur and Chouanière, but a formation that hasn't really been thrown out. We've talked about needing more help in the middle of the park so as not to get overrun versus a 4-2-3-1 versus Morocco. What about a 4-1-4-1? Frequently, I was the midfielder playing deep that shielded that back line. I think a Nico Segur could slide in there quite nicely and then give Canada lots of weapons on the counterattack.
Okay, we know how Gareth and Amy would both line up Canada. Ultimately, though, Jesse Marsh has the final call, and we should find out around just before noon Eastern time. It'll be a noon kickoff Central in Houston, round of 16, Canada and Morocco. So from Houston to Toronto, Oliver Platt will check in from BMO Field as we look back to Toronto's time as a host city at this FIFA World Cup. You're watching Bet365 for the win.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
The game isn't over yet, but Gary just got paid with Bet365's early payout when his team went up 2 goals. Now, Gary can't stop celebrating. And honestly, we're not even sure he knows how.
Or forever hold it.
Download the Bet365 app and get paid out early when your team goes up 2 goals.
Here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now?
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
It's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Well, Toronto, it saw many a flare, many a flag over the few weeks that it was one of the host cities of this FIFA World Cup. And what a way to tie a bow on your time as a host city. It wasn't Canadian flags we saw marching last night. So many Portuguese, as we welcome in Oliver Platt, who is live on location from the stadium formerly known as Toronto Stadium. It's BMO Field again, Ollie. What an occasion. Even Cristiano Ronaldo going out to the balcony like he was at a royal wedding and kissing and waving to the fans. It just sort of threw it all together that this was a special place for a few special moments. You are at home. You're not at Toronto Stadium. That's my bad, of course. But what did you make of Toronto's time as someone who spent a lot of time outside those gates and inside that stand?
Yeah, sorry if Toronto Stadium's looking a little bit different, guys. It's because it's my
little
living
gloomy.
room. I have plenty of time there.
They took the wrapping down quick.
Yeah, they work fast, FIFA. No, it was an incredible experience, and I have to say, I think Toronto's done a great job, and I'm wary of kind of just waxing lyrical about this because I know ticket prices will still be a sore point, and there were a lot of people who would have wanted to go to these games who didn't or couldn't, and you have to be cognizant of that. I'm very lucky to have had the opportunity to go to most of them. But the ticket prices are a FIFA thing, right? They're not Toronto specific. So I think when we talk about Toronto hosting, I think we've got a lot right here. It has to be said. We got some great games, which certainly helps. But a big part of those games being so good and the experience being so good was that it was Toronto at its best, with the different populations coming out to support their teams. The fan bases all brought something different, culminating in an incredible night last night between Portugal and Croatia, and a game that I think everyone who was there will remember for a long time. And I think even beyond kind of that side of it, there was probably a lot of concern and a lot of criticism in advance, and some of it warranted, to be honest, about how Toronto as a city would host. And I can't come out of it having many complaints. I think this ran smoothly. It ran pretty seamlessly, to be honest, from a logistical point of view. I didn't have any problems. I didn't really speak to anyone else who had many problems. And I think the stadium in its own way was something different from the rest of the World Cup for sure. But it created a great atmosphere, and as Roberto Martinez said last night, felt a bit more like a football stadium than maybe some of the spaceships you get south of the border in the States. So I think Toronto can feel pretty good about itself coming out of this World Cup. It was a job well done.
It was super cool. I think Toronto has come off looking very good. Vancouver, who still has another game, looks very good. I just wish that Montreal and Edmonton could have been part of this as well, because what made it special wasn't the organizers or the politicians or anyone like that. It's the people. Like, we live in a great country. We live in great cities. We're so diverse just in terms of our fandom. At times we complain that it's a weakness. I just think that this is our strength. This is who we are. This is like, Toronto, this is Canadians at our finest. And we got to show that, for 6 games. I just wish it was more. I wish it was in more cities. I wish it didn't end. But I think there's a lot of reasons for people in Toronto specifically, because Toronto's wrapped up their games, to puff out their chest a little bit and approach this with a whole lot of pride. It was really good. I don't care if it's any World Cup or Olympics. Like the people predict doom and gloom from the start. We had none of that, thankfully. So it was a really enjoyable couple weeks.
But that's maybe something we also do as Canadian. We're really good hosts. We're really welcoming. Things come off maybe better than we expected, but we do predict the doom and gloom, as you did, throwing salt in the wound for Montreal not getting any games. So thank you for that, Wheels, because that's my hometown. But as a Montreal native traveling into Toronto, I could remark on the same things that you were pointing out, Ollie, where I would come in to the Island Airport and walk up to the, whether it was Union or just to downtown, and there was a different feel. Like the energy, the buzz was palpable. There was a tangible shift kind of in the air and like in the soccer kits and the jerseys that you were walking by. I came into the city last week and I think it was Croatia versus Panama, and it was marches organized. It was people mixing together, and it was just beautiful to see, and you felt a part of it, even though I unfortunately didn't get to attend any of the matches at Toronto Stadium. You jerks. I wish I could have done that. But I mean, I still felt like I was a part of it. And I think everybody in Toronto, even if they looked down their nose at it, they weren't even a casual fan, I think they're happy about the fact that Toronto got a bunch of games, and so did Vancouver.
Okay, Ollie, you spent a lot of time, whether it was at Canada Soccer House, at the stadium, in the press box where you famously are right now, mixing and rubbing elbows with a bunch of different people. What was the takeaway that you got from the outsiders, those who weren't familiar with BMO Field, with Toronto, about what it meant to have this tournament in this city, from whether it was players that you interviewed or coaches you spoke to, other fans, other journalists? What was that reaction like?
It was, from what I heard, all positive. I mentioned Martinez's comments, obviously, after the game last night. There were a lot of Portugal players who have spoken out. We heard from a couple of them, Rafael Leao, Gonçalo Ramos, after the game, who were very complimentary. I also think, what's happened around Cristiano Ronaldo over the past couple of days, this is the best I think Ronaldo has felt, and the best PR he's had on a global level in some time, because he's kind of gone to Saudi Arabia and drifted away from the, he's never going to be out of kind of the mainstream and people's consciousness. But I think in footballing terms, what's happened with Ronaldo over the past 24 hours is some of the probably the best moment of his career in some years, in the latter stages of his career here. He's clearly loving it. He was out on the hotel balcony, obviously greeting fans after the game last night. So everything you've heard from Portugal specifically yesterday, but I think all of the teams who have been here have been very complimentary. But one thing you also have to say you noticed is that it wasn't actually the fans who were in the stadium. It didn't feel like a lot of people coming from abroad and experiencing Toronto. It felt like a lot of people from Toronto and in the region, right? So I think that was the core of the support here, was people who already live here. Maybe that was quite predictable given the city that Toronto is, but that was an interesting dynamic as well, was it didn't feel like an influx of people from outside. It felt like Toronto celebrating itself, really, and all of these teams, which we know people in this city have a connection to.
Ollie, I'll leave you with a question that's probably going to will be tough to know the long-term answer, but short-term. When we think about legacy, we've complained, rightfully so, on a lot of occasions about infrastructure and facilities and Toronto not getting enough. But when we think to the 2026 World Cup in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, what do you think we might look back on in terms of Toronto's legacy at this tournament, knowing we'll have this conversation about Vancouver in about a week's time?
I think it's TBD. I don't say that to be pessimistic about it, but I don't really believe in a built-in World Cup legacy that's just waving a magic wand by hosting the World Cup and things, just suddenly get better in terms of football in your country. I think it's what you make of it. So we already have, I think, quite a big legacy component here that came years ago with the Canadian Premier League, which was a part of this World Cup coming to Canada in the first place. So a domestic league is a pretty big deal. But in terms of the more kind of, immediate around the tournament legacy aspects, I think it's how you capitalize on this moment. How do you then convert that into more interest in domestic football? How do you convert that into investment from the corporate community, from ownership groups who potentially want to own or start teams in Canada as well? That's all stuff that I think has to now come from the work that will hopefully be done to achieve those types of things. But I'm not going to sit here and say, as much as I thought this was a brilliant experience and I enjoyed it thoroughly and it was great for everyone that was there, I don't think on its own it transforms football in Canada. I think you've got to learn from the past there and see that takes a lot of work, and now it's up to everyone to kind of capitalize on this moment and make the most of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Same thing goes for, do more tourists want to come to Canada to experience, the people, the places, and everything that they heard about during this World Cup? All that stuff kind of takes care of itself over time. The legacy project's just nowhere near enough for me. Centennial Stadium, it's nice what they did there. Should give a nod to that. I found it disappointing that only one nation decided to make their home across the GTA area. That was Panama. So shout out to Panama, who stayed at Nottawasaga. That was good to see. I would have loved to have seen a whole lot more. I want to focus on the stadium, though, because Toronto Stadium, BMO Field, it was a big topic of discussion for the temporary nature of it. And I just wish that there was more permanence to what we experienced, because rightfully when the games were being played, it was intimate, it felt bigger, it felt like it fit. To be honest with you, when you're inside that stadium. So the part of the north side is going to stay, but the stands on top of the suites are going to go. This is about the third or fourth iteration of there being a north stand at BMO Field. Is that enough? People love sitting up high. You could see the lake. It was scenic. It closed in the stadium. It felt like a lot more significant, but the south end is going to go. And the South End was originally proposed to be renovated, but the city of Toronto refused to change the road in behind BMO Field in the South End to make for a permanent South End stand. So what we get, or what the stadium got, was a new sound system, some new screens, some new broadcast facilities, and a couple new suites for VIPs inside the building. That doesn't really translate to the atmosphere inside the stadium week in, week out, whether it's for soccer games, rugby games, concerts, what have you. This was a chance to leave a legacy inside that building, a state-of-the-art national stadium that would be good to go, not need of upgrades for the next couple decades. But instead, that temporary nature of it just leaves me wishing that they did more, because if there was ever a time to do more and get public dollars to invest into a stadium, it was a time like the World Cup. So that still is a missed opportunity for me.
And temporary is the operative word. The branding is already coming down. They're already taking apart the North Stand. One for the memories for sure. Oliver Platt joining us from Guelph, Ontario. Thanks, Ollie. Reminder of the TELUS Canadian Championship schedule on Wednesday. Quadruple header. CF Saint Laurent, Forge, Supra, Atletico Ottawa, Vancouver, and CF Montreal, and Whitecaps and Cavalry coming up on One Soccer. So there's some teams who are hitting the road. It looks like Argentina's not one of them, but lots more to talk about from the FIFA World Cup. We will move the conversation along when we return to Bet365 for the win.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
In Canada, our future stars don't simply show up on the world stage. They are built from the ground up, right here in the heart of our communities.
Oh, lovely through ball there, Isaiah Johnson! Goal for Halifax!
From a childhood dream to the national team.
Jacob Shuffle, good! Yes! He's done it! Canada, let's hope for the footballing way!
We are Canada, driven by Volkswagen.
And for Canada, BMO.
After 20 years of supporting the game, we're actually going to play in one. Let's go! So what do you need? Precision striker, rock solid left back?
We need a coin.
For the coin toss? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. Can I at least flip it? Heads or tails? I'll do that. We're on TV right now. Yeah.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
For the Win on One Soccer is presented by Bet365.
Well, Julian Nagelsmann is out as the head coach of Germany's national men's team, saying in part, quote, "I've done a lot of thinking in the days since our elimination and have consulted with trusted individuals both personally and within the federation. The decision was anything but easy for me. My top priority has always been the team's success. After such a bitter disappointment, they deserve the chance for a fresh start." This is how we'll begin today's episode of Tasteful or Disgraceful, going through some of the big stories and in a lot of ways, a lot of shock early exits. Germany obviously was one of them, Gareth. The comment from the coach who's now out of a job, is Klopp the man? That's not for today. We're talking about Germany at the World Cup and Nagelsmann and his coaching performance. Tasteful or disgraceful?
It's disgraceful, but what were those conversations that Nagelsmann was having? It was probably, you gots to go. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Because he just mismanaged this group. It's a very young team of talented players. He was unable to find balance in it. And Nagelsmann, I mean, he seems to me like he believes he's the smartest man in the room. Like the complete reluctance to play Dennis Undav until it was way too late. Then he didn't have any balance on the team in terms of how that adjustment was going to play out. And even more disgracefully, and Jurgen Klopp broadcasting alongside Thomas Müller throughout this tournament, plotting his next move, his potential next German head coach. The entire situation is disgraceful. There's no way Germany should be out in the round of 32.
Amy, that's the tenure. What about Germany's tournament? Tasteful or disgraceful?
Disgraceful. Right up there with Nagelsmann and his tenure. So they beat Curacao, but they were not an opponent for them to truly measure themselves against. Lost to Ecuador, beat Ivory Coast, and then ultimately out to Paraguay in a round of 32. But beyond that, Jenkins, there was no stable team performance where there was identity. So for a country with such a rich footballing history, just not enough. So eliminated group stage in 2018, again in 2022, and you avoided the same embarrassment this time around, but it almost felt worse given what was happening at the helm with Nagelsmann and the team as a whole. So they have a lot of work to do.
Gareth, so many Croatian supporters at Toronto Stadium yesterday, heartbroken 3 different times, 3 disallowed goals. They lose to Portugal. Their tournament is over. Was their performance over the course of the group stage and that knockout match tasteful or disgraceful?
Oh, it's tasteful. I love Croatia, the country, having been there before. It's brilliant. But this team continues to punch above its weight in every competition. A country of 3 million people, they have the heart of a lion, and they regularly overachieve in terms of competition, and it's plain to see. They develop players, there's balance in the team. Zlatko Dalic is a wonderful manager. 2 games in Toronto with great spirit, especially going down in that first game. I was really worried about maybe how this World Cup would play out. But Modric and Kovacic and Perisic turn back the clock. There's some very good young players coming through as well, and the fans were incredible. I love the checkerboard, the red and white checkerboard, especially when you wear the water polo cap. That's an outstanding look. Tasteful in my books every day of the week.
Amy, Canada Day in Seattle. We almost saw Belgium bounce. They probably should have been, considering where the match was so late in the second half. But Senegal, the team eliminated. Tough one for them, of course. Tasteful or disgraceful at the 2026 FIFA World Cup?
Oh, I almost don't want to say it because the second goal, the goal by Sarr, was a thing of beauty and one of the best goals I've seen at this World Cup. It was disgraceful because it was an implosion of epic proportions, because like nobody watching the game, no one inside the stadium, and nobody maybe except for Belgium manager Garcia, with 86 minutes gone in the match, down 2-0, anticipated what would happen next. So it was a breakdown. Yes, ultimately you give flowers to Belgium for the likes of Lukaku, Tielemans, maybe a favorable penalty call, but ultimately this is a collapse and a disgrace by Senegal.
Gareth, this one might be a little bit tougher to judge. Sweden was playing still the favorite to win this tournament, but they had a quick cup of coffee in the knockouts and they're heading back home. Was Sweden's performance tasteful or disgraceful?
I'm going to go with tasteful here because I had no expectations for them heading into this competition after being so awful through World Cup qualifying. The only reason why they got through to get that second chance was because they did well in the Nations League, and they came out with a really good first win against Tunisia, got their coach fired in the process, laid an egg against the Netherlands, but I didn't expect they were going to be able to go in and compete with a team like France. I think the better indicator was in their final group stage game against Japan, where I thought they were the better team and were unlucky not to go out and win that outright. So Graham Potter's side did much better than I thought. I'm going to go with tasteful on this one. Good kits as well.
Amy Walsh will be absolutely delighted we have time for this one. The Shakira World Cup song. You hear the music, you instantly think of the tournament. It's been in everyone's ears for the past few weeks, almost a month at this point. Is it a tasteful performance or a disgraceful performance, Amy Walsh, on Shakira?
The hips don't lie, Jenkins. It's always tasteful. And now Shakira has officially been involved in more World Cups than her ex, Gerard Piqué. So it's tasteful, it's earwormy, legend status. It's tasteful all the way. And for somebody of my generation, I associated Waka Waka with Fozzie Bear of the Muppets. Now Waka Waka is associated with Shakira.
Another great track. Both of them are great tracks. When I hear Shakira's voice and the players are walking out, I'm pumped. I love to hear it. Die. I'm playing it at home right now. And then also in the build up to games, Bulletproof comes on. I just want to see the darts player Michael Bunting come out and start beating his chest. That's the only thing that could make the equation better. The build up to the games, tasteful. All the way.
It took us nearly 3 weeks, but we finally got darts on Bet365 for the win. Garrett's going to try to give you a dart in terms of a player to watch tomorrow as we preview what's to come, the round of 16, the eve of it all at the FIFA World Cup. That's coming up next here on One Soccer.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by General Mills. For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Turkey Farmers of Canada.
We were there for your first game together. The day you taught him the rules and the answer for every question. We've been there for the good times and a few moments we don't talk about. And now,
Who won the most Canadian Classics?
it's a passion you can share. And we're just happy we could be there. 20 years, and we're still growing. Together.
Hey neighbor, meet Walmart Plus, the new membership that does delivery differently. I'm talking unlimited free same-day delivery, free shipping, and no order minimum. And it comes with a Crave subscription too. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. Try it free for 30 days. Walmart Plus.
Canada are really pressing here. Oh, what a move. That is a quality ball. Now the run into the box.
It.
A player Mike bet on just missed an open net tap-in and got subbed off.
I could have scored that in jeans.
Mike doesn't know it yet, but thanks to Bet365's sub-on play-on,
The net was wide open.
his prop bet rolls over to the fresh leg sub coming on. So if the sub scores, Mike still wins.
False alarm, people. My bet's still good.
If your player gets subbed, your bet plays on.
For the Win on One Soccer is brought to you by Samsung.
Argentina surviving quite the scare from Cabo Verde in Miami. Literally minutes ago, the match finally reached full time, and what a match it was. Lionel Messi opens the scoring with yet another goal at this World Cup Finals. Deroy Duarte would make it 1-1 just before the hour mark. Took us to extra time. Lisandro Martinez scored almost immediately, only for Sidney Lopez Cabral 10 minutes later to give Cabo Verde that hype, that hope. We thought we were headed to penalties until an own goal off Dani Borges would spell the end to an incredible run for Cabo Verde and these Sharks that so many people have absolutely fallen in love with. It could have been a much different conversation, this, Gareth. We were trying to do the show and also keep an eye on what was going on. And we certainly would have needed to be talking about this a whole lot earlier if the holders had gone out, but they are through by the skin of their teeth. Your thoughts?
First off, on Argentina, this doesn't affect the way I look at them overall. They still should be considered co-favorites to win this tournament. They do this every tournament, like losing to Saudi Arabia last time, squeaking out a 1-0 win over Iran in 2014. This is standard fare. It's just usually not in the knockout stage of this competition, which is crazy. But Cabo Verde, what a story. How lovable is this tiny nation? And they are going to be the poster children for Gianni Infantino in not only justifying 48 teams, but saying, you know what? 64. I like that number even more. You wait and see. The Cabo Verde story is not over, even though they're going home.
Amy?
I don't like how you cheapened the joy and the story of the tournament, the Cinderella story that's Cabo Verde, and you stained it with Gianni Infantino and expansion to 64 teams. How dare you, Gareth Wheeler? But no, I think they're not just the beneficiaries of this expanded format. Like, they showed that they belonged, and that's huge, right? And Messi, to your point, I think like the misstep, the loss versus Saudi Arabia, that was the opening match in Qatar. This is a round of 32, like maybe changes things a little bit, chink in the armor. But I mean, as it pertains to Messi, the goal that he scored, the movement, orchestrating it, the little kind of curved run, gets back on side, the deft, sublime touch, and then the goal. Like, this guy just keeps bettering the bar that he sets for himself, which is way higher than everybody else. But it moves him clear of Kylian Mbappe for that Golden Boot race, extends his all-time World Cup scoring record, and he's scored 20 World Cup goals now, 2 more than Mbappe. So that battle continues, as you said, like, not holders, but 2 teams that are really vying for the championship. But I mean, Wheels, the stars are out and they're all in the Golden Boot race.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's very rare in any World Cup where the best players are the best players. Like, usually there's a couple surprises who's part of that mix, but look at this board, and the group that's just down for them are household names as well. I think it's just going to be a matter of who reaches the final, who's going to win this Golden Boot race. Mbappe in France look rather unstoppable. They have a generous next matchup up next against Paraguay. So, and you know that Messi, he's still the main man. It's not Lautaro Martinez. It's not Julian Alvarez. It's still Lionel Messi. So this is going to go down to the wire.
Okay, always homework for our pundits on Bet365 for the win as we look ahead to tomorrow and the round of 16. Each of our pundits were asked, to pick a player to watch. It is presented by TELUS. Gareth Wheeler, why don't you start us off?
I'll just go with the France-Paraguay match. And there's been a lot of talk about Kylian Mbappe, rightfully so. Michael Olise has been brilliant with 5 assists in the tournament. But what about Ousmane Dembele? Like, this guy has been, over the last 3-4 seasons, one of the best players in world football. Had a little bit of an injury-riddled year to start the season with PSG, but has really come on strong. And I think he's found his best form right now. He's in the top 3 in combined goals and assists in this tournament with 6. He scored a first-half hat trick in a game as well. And he's so versatile. He can play out wide. He can play underneath. The rotation alongside Olise is just so difficult to watch. So if we're going to pick someone else not named Mbappe or Olise, we might as well go with Dembele.
Okay, Amy Walsh, who you got?
I got Kyle Larin. I think it fits in well with what we've discussed on this show. I do not think the man has been mistreated, but I do think that he's been much maligned and he's been on this redemption arc. And he's not going to be a starter based on what Jesse Marsch said on the dais, but he's an angry man with something to prove, as he showed versus Bosnia and Herzegovina. Or is he carrying a knock? Or is he maybe, as Wheels and KJ alluded to early in the show, just simply second or third choice as Canada's number 9? But either way, is club form with Southampton, the way he came into this camp and the way that he's scored some big goals, he's on 2 goals in this World Cup, he can be the difference maker off the bench for Canada. He could also be a difference maker as a starter, but I don't believe that's going to be the case versus Morocco. But if Canada needs some big goals, I look to Kyle Larin to provide them.
TELUS proud to partner with soccer organizations across Canada, raising the game from the grassroots to the elite levels. Those are the players to watch, but the games themselves, let's talk about them. Maybe try to find you some value on Bet365's lines. Canada plus 350, draw plus 230. Morocco, unsurprisingly, Gareth, the favorites at minus 112. Pick some winners.
I can't bet against Canada here, but I can't support them and back them at this price either. So I'm just going to play the under the total of 2.5. Canada plays teams like this very tough. We saw 0-0 Ecuador, 0-0 Colombia, 0-0 France, just 2-0 Argentina twice. All of those would cash. I'm not sure if Canada is enough to expose Morocco across the back line. I think best case scenario for Canada is get it to extra time and then kind of build and try to hope from there. But I'm going to leave the 3-way market and just look at the total for this game and roll with the under.
Amy Walsh?
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. What is so if you take under, it's under how many goals?
2.5 or 2 3/4, I believe, right now. So yeah, I believe it's 3 goals, you lose half your bet. If it's 2
I'm with
or
Wheels
less,
on
then
that.
you win your bet.
as well, because I think it favors Canada if they're able to keep it 0-0 for as long as possible, frustrate Morocco, and then maybe it's Canada at the death or an extra time and it's a 1-0.
Okay, and with that, we bid you farewell and try to contain our excitement ahead of tomorrow's match, where we are just about ready for liftoff. I'm going to end the show the same way I started it, and maybe if Alistair keeps playing the way that he has been, they'll call it the Johnston Space Center moving forward. For Amy Walsh and Gareth Wheeler, I'm Adam Jenkins. Enjoy the match tomorrow, and thanks for joining us on Bet365 for the win.